Level 1, casual player. It starts as a night out. Your friends wanted to do something different. Someone suggested the casino. You'd never been. Or maybe you had once, years ago, and didn't think much of it. You walk in, and the first thing that hits you is the noise. Machines humming and dinging and flashing in every direction. People hunched over tables with expressions you can't quite read. A cocktail waitress floats past like she's part of the decor. You exchange $40 for chips because 40 feels responsible. You sit at a table. You don't fully understand the game, but you follow along. You lose $20 in 11 minutes and you laugh about it. Genuinely laugh. Because $20 for an entertaining 11 minutes is honestly a fine deal. You go home that night having lost $40 total and you tell the story at work on Monday like it's a fun anecdote. It is a fun anecdote. This is still the fun part. Remember this feeling. It doesn't last forever. Level 2. Getting curious. Something about it stays with you. Not in a dark way. Not yet. Just in the way that an interesting puzzle stays with you. You start watching videos. Poker strategy breakdowns. Blackjack odds. Baccarat explained in 8 minutes. Sports betting guides written by men who seem very confident about things that haven't happened yet. You tell yourself you're just curious. That's true. You are curious. But curious has a way of turning into something else when you're not watching. You learn terms, expected value, pot odds, the Kelly criterion, bankroll management. You start to feel like someone who understands something that other people don't. Like you found an edge, a system, a way to approach this thing that makes you different from the average person who just walks in and throws money around. Here's what nobody tells you at this stage. Everyone who ever had a gambling problem started exactly here, with curiosity, with study, with the genuine belief that they were smarter than the average player. The intelligence doesn't protect you. Sometimes it makes things worse. Level 3, online gambling. You downloaded the app on a Tuesday, just to try it, just to see what it was like without having to drive anywhere. 3 apps, actually. One for sports betting, one for poker, one that does a little of everything. You told yourself you'd only use them occasionally, casually, the way some people have a glass of wine on a weeknight, purely for enjoyment, totally under control. The apps are designed by people who are very, very good at their jobs. The notifications, the daily bonuses, the "you're on a streak" messages. The way a near miss feels almost as exciting as a win. Almost. You have a system now. You've written it down. It involves specific bet sizes and specific conditions and specific rules you've set for yourself. It's a good system, a logical system. You've broken it 4 times this week. But the system itself is solid. You just need to stick to it better. Next week, you'll stick to it better. Level 4. First big win. And then it happens. You're up $800 in a single night. $800 that wasn't there when you woke up this morning, sitting right there in your account, real and undeniable. You screenshot it, you stare at it, you feel something that is genuinely difficult to describe. A rush that is part excitement, part pride, part pure chemical reward that your brain has never quite felt in this specific combination before. This is the most dangerous moment of your entire gambling life. Not the losses that come later, not the rock bottom. This moment, right here. Because your brain just learned something. It learned that this is possible, that you can sit down with nothing and stand up with everything. That the big win is real. You've seen it, you felt it, you have the screenshot to prove it. What your brain does not properly account for is how many nights it will take chasing that feeling before you see it again. How many smaller losses will stack up in the background while you're waiting for the lights to align one more time. But tonight you're up $800. Tonight you're a genius. Tonight anything feels possible. Level 5, the grind. You're at the casino 4 times a week now. Sometimes 5. The drive is automatic. Your hands know the way before your brain decides to go. You know the staff by name. Marcus at the blackjack table. Donna, who does the late shift at the slots. The security guard by the east entrance who nods at you now instead of checking your ID. They know your usual. They know your face. You are, without having ever intended to become this, a regular. You've developed rituals, a specific seat, a specific order of games, a specific way you stack your chips that you genuinely believe affects the outcome even though you know intellectually that it doesn't. The rational part of your brain and the gambling part of your brain have stopped talking to each other. Your wins and losses roughly cancel out some weeks. Other weeks they don't. You track them in a note on your phone, a spreadsheet of numbers that you look at less and less because the trend line makes you uncomfortable. But you're still in control. You want to be very clear about that. You are absolutely still in control. Level 6, chasing losses. There's a term for it, chasing. It's when you've lost money and instead of stopping, you bet more to try to win it back. Every gambler knows this is the worst thing you can do. Every gambler does it anyway. It has its own logic. A terrible, seductive, almost reasonable sounding logic. You're down $300. If you just win one good hand, one good bet, you're back to even. You're not even trying to win anymore. You're just trying to get back to zero. That seems reasonable. That seems almost conservative. So you bet bigger, and you lose. So you bet bigger again, and now you're down 500. And 500 feels so much worse than 300 that your brain refuses to accept it as real, refuses to let you walk away from a number that doesn't feel like the true final score, because surely the true final score is 0. Surely you can get back to 0. That's all you need. You drive home at 2 a.m. The city looks different at 2 a.m., quieter, emptier. You sit in your car outside your house for a few minutes before going in. You do the math in your head one more time, even though you already know the number. You already know the number. Level 7, it's getting serious. You've moved money from savings, just once at first, just to cover a rough month. You told yourself you'd put it back when things evened out. You haven't put it back yet, but you will. Things are about to even out. You've told some lies, small ones mostly, where you were, why you were late, what you spent that money on. Lies have their own momentum. The first one is the hardest, and after that they come easier. And after a while, you're so practiced at them that you almost believe them yourself. You borrowed money from a friend. You gave him a reason that wasn't the real reason. He believed you because he's your friend and your friends believe you. That's the worst part. That they still believe you. There's a voice in the back of your head now. It's been there for a while. It's quiet, but it's consistent. It says things like, this isn't who you are. It says, you know where this goes. It says, you can still stop right now, today, before this becomes a story with a bad ending. You turn the volume up on everything else. The games, the noise, the next bet. The voice gets quieter when you're playing. That's partially why you keep playing. Level 8, rock bottom. We're not going to linger here. Not because it isn't important. It's the most important level on this entire list, but because if you've been here, you already know. And if you haven't been here, no description will fully prepare you. What we'll say is this: rock bottom looks different for everyone. For some people, it's a number, a debt that doesn't feel real when you see it written down. For some people, it's a relationship that finally breaks under the weight of too many lies and too many broken promises. For some people, it's a moment alone at 4 a.m. that they won't describe to anyone for years. But there is something almost everyone who has been there will tell you about rock bottom. And it's this: there is a moment of terrible, devastating clarity, where all the noise stops, where the logic and the systems and the rationalizations finally go quiet, and you see things exactly as they are, not as you've been telling yourself they are, as they actually are. That clarity is painful beyond words. It is also, for a lot of people, the first real step towards something better. Rock bottom is not the end of the story. It's the place where some people finally decide to start writing a different one. Level 9, the comeback. Recovery is not a montage. That's the first thing to understand. There is no training sequence, no single moment where the music swells and you're suddenly fixed. It is slow, and it is non-linear, and it is deeply, profoundly unglamorous. You go to meetings maybe, or therapy, or both. You talk to people who've been where you've been, and something about hearing your own story in someone else's voice makes it more real and less shameful at the same time. You rebuild things, finances first, slowly, carefully, with the humility you didn't have before. Relationships next. Some of them come back, some of them don't, and you have to make peace with both outcomes. Trust is a long road. You knew how to win people's trust quickly once. You're learning now that real trust is built differently. It's built in the quiet, boring, consistent days where you do what you said you'd do and nothing dramatic happens. There are hard days. Days where the pull is still there. Because it doesn't just disappear. It doesn't get surgically removed. You learn to recognize it, to name it, to make a different choice than you used to make. Over and over again, you make the different choice. That's what recovery actually looks like from the inside. Not victory, just the different choice, made again today. Level 10, the wise one. You're not who you were at level 1. That person who walked into a casino on a Friday night with $40 and laughed when they lost it. You can remember him, but you can't quite reach him anymore. Too much has happened in between. You understand things now that can't be unlearned. You understand what it feels like when a system takes hold of you from the inside. When something that started as a choice becomes something that makes choices for you. When the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be gets wide enough to fall into. You still feel the pull sometimes, a sports game on TV, a friend mentioning they're heading to the casino, a notification from an app you deleted but somehow remember the exact layout of. The pull is familiar. It doesn't scare you the way it used to. You've learned to just let it pass through without acting on it. Most days that's easier than it sounds. Some days it's harder than it looks. What you have now that you didn't have before is perspective. You know what the house always winning actually means, not as a statistic but as a lived experience measured in real losses and real consequences and real nights sitting in parked cars doing math you don't want to do. And sometimes someone younger comes to you, someone at the beginning of the story, and you try to find the words, knowing that words probably won't be enough, knowing they'll likely have to learn some of it themselves, but you try anyway, because someone should say it, because the truth is worth saying even when nobody's ready to hear it yet. The house always wins, and now you know exactly what that costs.